So first, let's talk about being a solopreneur. Now, to some extent, this is a misnomer. I don't really think anybody works by themselves completely. If you do, more power to you, but it is very hard. And more than likely, you do not have a team. So when I hear a lot of people say solopreneur, what they really mean is that I don't have any employees. I don't really have any ongoing contractors, maybe a VA or somebody who kind of assists me, but nobody full time with me. And for the most part, I'm the person that's delivering the work. Now, there are benefits to this. I have thought plenty about solopreneurship. You have autonomy and independence. You don't have to answer to anybody, so you can make decisions quickly. You can also retain full control over operations. Everything that goes out of the door had to pass through your hands. And there's a lot of power in not having to rely on somebody else to be able to do those things for you. There's also flexibility because you can pursue your passions and tailor your business to fit your own personal life goals. You only have to worry about yourself. And so when you are not responsible for somebody else's livelihood, when you do not have to make monetary or financial decisions based on the people that you have to pay, you've got a lot more agility in deciding what projects you take on, what types of things you take on, and what type of work you ultimately want to do. Finally, there's lower overhead. Obviously, the fewer people that you're paying, the fewer expenses are going out. So you get to hold more of your revenue as profit. Down the line, that's a situation with taxes, but more money in the bank always feels like a good thing. The thing is, solopreneurship isn't without its challenges. I think one of the first ones that typically used to scare me the most was the dependability on myself. Now, I know I'm going to work and I know I'm going to do it well and I know I'm going to correct when I don't. I know me. But if my work output is dependent on my ability, willingness, health, insert whatever here that is just me, it can be scary to know that when you're not at your best, the work may not necessarily get done. And hopefully we have clients who are understanding and supportive of that, but it does mean that you have less of a backup. That leads to things like burnout and overwhelm and isolation because you're wearing a lot of hats, all the hats in the business. And so when it's time for you to be able to switch gears or think about what the next step in your business has to be, there may just be a lot of work on your plate beyond the work that you're getting paid for that gets in the way of you doing that at your best. I would say another thing to think about with solopreneurship is there's no one to check your work. And this was actually the scariest thing for me when I first started Little Fish. And it was a solopreneurship for all intents and purposes. It was scary to know that I was the only one that touched it. And when it went out into the world, nobody had seen it but me. And like I said, I work hard and I care a lot. But also, my ADHD doesn't always catch everything. And so it was really nerve wracking to review things 10, 20, a million times in order to make sure that it was correct before it went out. It is my own perfectionism and I want to make sure that it's correct. But it would have been helpful to have somebody to support or just back me up and have a second set of eyes on things. Finally, when you think about the fact that you can keep more profit, you are also the main only person that can make money in the business. And so what that can mean is when you want to take trips or when you want to take on a big project, there is no one to allocate that work to. You have to be really strict about your bandwidth, about the types of things that you take on, and about the types of things that you say no to. So what do I recommend for solopreneurs? Because we have a ton of solopreneurs as clients. Again, this is not a good or a bad decision. They are just different. The first thing that I recommend is to outsource tasks. Even if you're going to deliver the work yourself, it doesn't mean that the business has to be run itself. And yes, even if you are a solopreneur or a sole proprietor, you're running a business. It is more than just the work output that you do or the thing that you get paid. Y'all know there's accounting, there's legal, there's invoicing, there's contracts, there's emails. There are emails. And so you need to have somebody that you can outsource some of the bigger things to so you can focus on the things that you're best at and that you love the most. Next, build a support network. I will say that having an accountant peer community has done wonders for my confidence, for my research abilities, for my resourcefulness. I just know more than I would have been able to know by myself. So even if you're going to run the business alone and work in the business alone, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be meeting up, talking to, engaging with people who are doing the same thing as you. Finally, prioritize self care and work life balance. Now, I say those words knowing that they've been co opted in a lot of ways. But the main point here is that if you're the only person that can do the work, you got to take really good care of yourself. You have to take breaks. You have to make sure that you're not overwhelming yourself by the number of clients or projects or work that you take on. You're the only one that can take care of you in a solopreneurship. And so make sure that you're prioritizing yourself. They say no one can pour from an empty cup, which is true, but this is even more important when you're the only billable person in your company.